So what I got going on here is that I am at the Birch Bay State Park. This is north of Bellingham, Washington. And this ended up being a collection of different areas, ultimately ending up in Blaine, Washington. So let's get into it. So to help get you oriented, this is a map of the area. Starting out near the bottom, we got Bellingham, Washington in the black outline. And then up near the top along the Canadian border, the smaller circle, is Blaine, Washington. And now this large circle is the area that I filmed in. And this final circle is Birch Bay State Park. So now back to Birch Bay State Park. This, of course, is Birch Bay, and there's a little deus area right next to the water. And behind the deus area, there's a little bit of hill, and then the campground up on top. There is one small hiking trail that we'll check out later. Well, I've reached the end of the state park, and this road that we're on doesn't get a lot of traffic, at least not in the wintertime. And I had seen people walking on the shoulders, so I'd figured I'd walk into this community next to the state park. Well, there was several beach access along this road. Most of them were really small, no more than 30 feet wide. This one was a little bit larger. I think it's because it's in the center of the community, but these were all managed by Whatcom County. Right across the street from that Jackson Beach access, there's a bridge that goes over the Terrell River right here. They've been getting a lot of rain the last couple days, so the creek level is very high. I turned around at that bridge over Terrell Creek, and I'm headed back to the state park. I'm back in the state park, and this is another shot of the Terrell Creek. This is the Terrell Marsh Trail. It's the only hiking trail in the park. It's only about half a mile, and it's on the back side of the park. This must be the Terrell Marsh. This trail is a loop, and this is the furthest spot out on the trail. Well, I've headed south from the Birch Bay State Park to this Point Whitehorn Marine Reserve. I thought this was going to be a quick backtrack before heading north, but of course that's not the case. So here we are at the reserve. Well, the trail leads all the way down to the shoreline here on the Puget Sound. I ended up hiking all the way down to what I thought was the boundary of this reserve. It wasn't marked, I was just using my GPS, but it was a good ways down. Well, I'm back at the trailhead, and I think this meadow is part of the British Petroleum, BP's wetland. There is a BP oil refinery not far from here. So I drove around to check it out. Well, I'm over by the BP oil refinery's main entrance, and this portion of the land is partially managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife. On my way over here from Point Whitehorn, there was some service roads that BP allowed pedestrian access, but parking was very limited. And I did drive around a little bit, but maybe I missed some of the parking lots. There were people parking in spots that really weren't parking spots. Like I saw a couple cars parked directly in front of gates. This area, because it's a hunting area, I don't think there's much hiking to do here, but there was a designated parking lot. Well, I've moved north and I'm at the Semiahmoo Park, which is at the end of the Semiahmoo Spit. We're looking east into Drayton Harbor, and on the other side of the Spit is the Semiahmoo Bay. I did a loop around the Semiahmoo Spit. There's a resort at the end of the Spit. I crossed over to the other side of the Spit, which at this point is no more than a couple 100 feet wide. That town directly in front of us is White Rock, Canada. Well, I've crossed back onto the inside of the Semiahmoo Spit, and we're getting into the resort area. This is looking back towards the Semiahmoo Park. Well, I'm at the end of the Semiahmoo Spit, and there is a little ferry that operates from this pier, goes over to Blaine, Washington in the summer months. This is the end of the ferry pier. We're looking across the water into Blaine, Washington. The city on the left side again is White Rock, Canada. Now I'm on the Semiahmoo Bay side of the Spit, headed back towards the Semiahmoo Park. Well, I am leaving the resort area of the Spit. As you can see, the sun is starting to set fast. I know that the sun will be behind the clouds by the time I get back to parking lot. So this was a wrap for the day. Well, I'm picking up in Blaine, Washington, and this is the Blaine Pier. And as we spin around, those buildings across the water are part of the resort on the Semiahmoo Spit. This is at the end of the Blaine Pier looking into the town. From here I started walking into town. I'm at the end of the Blaine Pier, and directly ahead is the U.S.-Canadian border crossing. And then once again, the town coming into view is White Rock, Canada. It's not very often that marinas like this are open to the public. Usually there's some sort of gate, so anytime it's open I take advantage of this and walk around. Well, I've been walking around the marina for a while, and one of the things I like to do is look at the backs of the ships. A lot of them will have their home port painted on them. The furthest one I saw was some Hobeck, Virginia. Now, I do suspect that some of these ships, the individuals have moved and they just haven't repainted their home port on the ship. Well, I've reached the end of the path, and there is a boat launch here. From here, I headed across the street to the Blaine Marina Park. Well, this trail goes pretty much all the way to the pier, but I didn't go much further on this trail. I just ended up picking up in downtown Blaine. So I'm in downtown now, and as we spin around, we'll get a good view of the marina and Drayton Harbor. Well, this is the Cherry Street Park. It's at the far end of downtown Blaine. And this pretty much wrapped up my time in this area of Washington State. So with that, I want to thank you for watching.